All right, so markers are our next coloring option that we have. And Stampin' Up! Has two types of markers. We, at Close to My Heart, only had the alcohol markers, and they were not ours. They were the Tri-Blend Spectrum Noir markers. We used to, years and years ago, have our own marker collection, but over the years, they got switched out multiple times. For those of you who are a long time Close to My Heart folks. So, but Stampin' Up! Has their own markers, and they are color matched for the most part to all of the colors in their palette. But there's two types. There are the Stampin' Write markers, and these are, you can get these, this happens to be the in colors, so there's only 5, so you have the 5 individual colors, and there is a bullet tip on one end and there is a brush tip on the other end. So there's 2 different tips in these, and these are water-based markers. Okay, so these are water-based markers. And they're good for coloring for sure, but you're not going to get the blending that you would get with the alcohol markers. That's also where the blending pen would come into play, is if you had the blending pen, you could blend these with that blending pen that we talked about earlier. You have to buy them in the collection, meaning that when you buy the marker assortment, you've got all 10 markers in that color family, in the subtles and the regals, etc. So you can't buy the markers individually for the Stampin' Write. You can only buy them as a full collection of 10 markers of all of those colors. But the nice thing about these is that you can use them in coloring, or in taking your stamps. And again, we'll just pull out this daisy. We'll pull out this line daisy again. You can take your Stampin' Write brush side of the marker, and you can color, you can add the ink to your stamp. And it probably wasn't a good choice of colors because it's very, very light. But you can use this to essentially create your and this, I didn't clean this one off, so it's a little bit messy, but you can use this. And again, I have it made it a little bit dirty, so I can clean off my tip because I had a little bit of black that I used on that, and I didn't clean it off very well, I guess. So anyway, so this is a way that you can, again, let's try the Petunia Pop, see if we can get a little bit more color on this. So you can ink up your line stamps, probably mostly your line stamps, but you could do the other stamps as well. I'm just seeing if I've got good coverage. But again, this is a way that you can maybe cut down on maybe space if you have space problems, and it's easier to store the markers than it is to store the stamp pads. We'll just see if we can get a nice image on that one. That one is a little bit better. Again, I'm not really trying too hard to make it perfect, but again, I've got a little bit of black on there, and I can clean that off just by running that on my paper. So those are the Stampin' Write markers. They're water-based, and they're very much similar to the ink pads and the ink type that's in the ink pads. All right, so that is marker type number 1. Marker type number 2 are these alcohol ink ones, and these are called Stampin' Blends. And the Stampin' Blends you can get in each individual color. You don't have to buy them as a bundle. And I'm trying to see if there even is a bundle. I don't think there even is a bundle for them under the colorways. I think you do have to buy them all individually from what I can tell. And these are slightly different. So this one is a dark summer splash, and this is light summer splash. So when you buy these, you get 2 pens in the package. One is going to be a light, one is going to be a dark. There are also 2 brush tips on this one. It's going to be a bullet tip on one end and a brush tip on the other end. And so you obviously can use these for coloring. So that one was the light summer splash. This one's the dark summer splash. And then if we take summer splash from the Stampin' Write markers, and we'll just grab this one, you can see the colorway differences. So the dark is very close to being the color of the ink pad, and the light is just a shade lighter, if that makes sense. And if I pull in the paper, if I pull in my color splash paper swatch, and we'll talk about this in a minute when we get to paper, I can, let's do this a little bit closer to the top so we can compare. So this is the Stampin' Write. This is the dark. And then this is the light. And I just want to get it so that I can lay it against the paper. So you can see this is the Stampin' Write marker. This is the alcohol marker, and then this dark and light. And so you can see the colors. Now I went over this a couple of times, which is probably why it's a little bit darker than the paper, but you can see how closely that color match is between those 3 pieces, the paper and the 2 different marker types. Okay. So the other thing is storage of these markers. Now, they don't store easily, and I have a very small space. I'm not going to be able to buy the storage solution that Stampin' Up has. I'm also not going to be able to really fit the storage solution that Stampin' Storage has for Stampin' Up products. I don't have the depth on my desk to handle the depth of the stamp pads, which are the way that they're set up. They are shorter than the Close to My Heart pads, but because these markers stick out so much farther, there is a depth problem that I have with the storage solution if I was to get the storage solution that stored the pens as well. So I'm going to have, I'm looking for other options that will work for me. And I found this one piece on Amazon, and I'm going to bring it in, and it's a shelf, and it has a slight angle to it that I'm not sure if you can see, but it has a slight angle to it, and it will hold these pens for me very easily, and I'll organize them here in a second. But it allows me to stack these pens up, and I can get quite a few pens into this storage unit. And again, I'm sorry this is not looking great, but I'm just trying to get you to see that I can store quite a few pens in this particular storage unit. So I'm going to go ahead and stand it like this, and hopefully everyone can see kind of what I mean. And I can stack them on top of each other. Again, this is a request that I actually put in, is to make these stackable versus how they have them. It'd be nice if they could like lock in together. I know, kind of strange requests, but anyway, I can get quite a few of these both laying flat or laying on their long side, or their wider side and their thin side. I can get quite a few of these here on the in this particular case. Hopefully people can see that. And then for right now, I'm just storing some of my stamp pads in these other cubbies since I don't have that many pens. And again, these guys can fit in here too. And I have them all sort of in one space that I can easily access. All right, so I'm going to take out 2 of these. Yes, those 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this back. And I'll link that. That was an Amazon find. I'll link that down below in case anyone's interested in it. All right, so there was another problem that storing those pens like that, there are a lot of colors that really look very similar to each other. So again, if I pull these together like this, and if these are sitting in my bin, yeah, I know that they're different colors, but these 3 look really similar. These 2 look slightly different. So what is that? So this is light shaded spruce. Light shaded spruce and light summer splash and dark summer splash look super, super close to each other. And if they're sitting in any sort of container where I don't have the stamp pad maybe right next to it, I'm not going to know that this is light shaded spruce. Okay. And so I felt like that was a little problematic. So there was a demonstrator who is Angie Judah, who created this Stampin' Blends label. She figured out what size and everything that she needed to do. And I'll link this down below if you want to go to her website and download this. Essentially what she did is she created this, and you would need a punch that was this size, which is a 3/8 circle punch, and then a mini glue dot. I took this complete idea from her. I'm going to give her full credit for it. But what I decided to do is I decided to put it into Design Space, and I am working on getting it to cut correctly. This one started out cutting correctly and then didn't line up for some reason. But I did the exact same thing. I made it the size that would work for the ends of these pens. And once I get this set up and I know it will cut correctly, I will upload that as well to this video. And it will be on my blog as well. But what I did is I took one of the adhesive sheets and I applied it to the back after I got, it's a print and cut. After I printed it, I applied this adhesive sheet so that I could just pull these off once it was cut and put them on the pens. And the idea is that you would print this twice so that you could put these little labels on each end of the pen. And so 2 of them worked, the bronze and the ivory, which are 2 of the colors that I had. And this is how they look. And by doing it on the adhesive sheet, then I don't have to try and get a little glue dot on this little circle. And I don't have to buy a 3/8 circle punch, which I don't own. If I owned a 3/8 circle punch, I would have been happy to do the way that Angie put it together. But if I can get this to work, which I should be able to do with a little bit more manipulation, I think this is going to be faster and easier for me. So that way, when they're laying in the actual, what is this? Tower that I have, I'll be able to see what colors they are. Same thing here. I believe I will probably end up putting some stickers on the ends of these as well, so that I know these colors as well. All right, so I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about on the marker side. And